All right, guys, this is Mr. Subhanarath for your pre-calculus class, period 4. Okay, we're doing 5.1, and the title for the lesson is Verifying Identities. There's your homework assignment. I'm just gonna assign it so that you guys can do it. I know some of you guys don't have a textbook, so talk to me when we meet in Zoom, okay? All right, this is something you know already, the SOHCAHTOA, okay? We're gonna use this to simplify and verify our identities. So the angle theta is here. If I want to write the sine ratio as fractions for sine, I'll put the opposite over the hypotenuse. So there is your sine, which is S O over H, SOHCAHTOA. Now the cofunction is the flip. So cofunctions, now one way to remember them vividly for me is the S here for sine is the opposite of the cosecant. Let's start with the C. So the flip of a sine, it's called the cosecant, which is now you put the hypotenuse on top and the opposite in the bottom. Okay? And another trick to remember things for a cosine and secant, if you take the cosine and you flip this, put the hypotenuse on top, you'll get the secant. So this will be used in this section throughout in this chapter. So now your hypotenuse is on top and your adjacent is in the bottom. Hardly anybody missed the cotangent, so I won't make the note on that one. So tan and cotan are always going to be the cofunction of each other. Many of you guys don't need to remember that because cotangent sounds like a tangent. Secant and cosecant, they sound kind of weird. That's why you have to find ways to remember it. For myself, sine starts with the S, cosecant starts with the C. They are flipped of each other in terms of fraction. Reciprocal, that's the word for that, all right? I made this mnemonic device to remember. So you all know about SOHCAHTOA, sine, opposite, hypotenuse, cosine, adjacent, hypotenuse, and the tangent is opposite, adjacent. This is what I made up. I call it Choshakao. Choshakao. SOHCAHTOA, Choshakao. So it's cosecant, that starts with a C, hypotenuse on top of opposite. It's just another way to remember things, okay? No big deal. Secant is hypotenuse over adjacent. Cotangent is adjacent over opposite. There's a spelling. Choshakao. SOHCAHTOA. All right. There's little things I use to teach my classes. Okay, so let's skip this one. We got that. Now, another thing to remember to get into for chapter 5.1 is called Pythagorean theorem. So now that's your typical Pythagorean theorem. Okay, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now in unit circle, the a and the b is the x and the y. So let me draw this out here. So this is your x, that's your y. Okay, that's your y. So this side is x, this side is y. So if you put that in a coordinate plane, the x is the a, and the y is the b. So you got x squared plus y squared. Now in the unit circle, the circle would go around like that. I hope you see my video for unit circles. So this one, the length in the middle of the hypotenuse is always going to be 1. So now you got a squared plus your b squared equals 1 squared equals 1. So in trig functions, in trigonometry, for your class pre-calculus and beyond, that they refer to trig functions at all, you're going to see x squared plus y squared equals 1. Okay, and on top of that, the x is the adjacent side, so that's your cosine. Here's your opposite side, which is called the sine. So now in the Pythagorean theorem in trig functions, you're going to be seeing something like this. I hope I wrote that down here. There you go. So this is Pythagorean theorem in trig classes. Okay. So the cosine is the x. So you got cosine square, which is x squared, which is also as the equals the a squared. Plus the y is the sine, so y is a b is the y is the sine. So cosine squared plus sine squared equals the radius squared. Radius of unit circle is 1. So that's how that refers back to, that make the connection, okay? So they connected. In trig function, that is a Pythagorean theorem. Unit circle Pythagorean theorem, and I moved away the traditional Pythagorean theorem. Okay, I'm going to pause the video here. It should be easier for me to upload when it's less than 5 minutes, or slightly more than 5 minutes right now. I'll get to the next one.